Hello and welcome to this episode, and in this episode we discuss the control structures in C programming language. So up until now, all of the programs that we have wrote, they have had a sequential execution. For example, we are prompting the user printf, and then we are defining variables, and then we are reading numbers into those variables. So printf, and then variables int a and b, and then scanf, and you can see that the execution of our program is sequential. It starts from here, this line is executed, and then this line is executed, and then this line. So one line after another until the end of the program, our lines are executed in a sequential order. So sequential order. So what if we want to have some control over the execution or over the flow of the execution of this program? So what if that we want to change that in some part of this program, the flow of execution should not be sequential, but rather somehow different. In the 1960s and before that, there was the use of the go-to statement. So people would use go-to statement. It's a statement that you will write go to, and then you will define the line of number that you want to go back to that line, and there will be a line number in here, and then the program will go back to that line, and once again it will start executing sequentially. So this is how they were trying to control the execution of programs in the 1960s and before that, but this would lead into many problems. For the time being, let's go to my laptop and we can see the use of go-to statements, and then we will continue after that on the board once again. So here we are on my laptop, and now we want to see an example for the go-to statement. Here in this program we are getting two numbers from the user, so we are prompting the user to enter two numbers, then we are storing these two numbers into num1 and num2, and for the result of these two numbers we have the result of addition, and we also have the result of multiplication. But we have a choice using the go-to statement in here, whether we want to show the result of addition or whether we want to show the result of multiplication. This is called a label for this block of code, and this is another label of multiplication for this block of code. So whichever label that I specify in here, the execution of this program is going to go to that label. So you can see that here I have defined multiplication, so addition will be ignored, and for the result of this program we will get the multiplication of these two numbers. So 3 and 5, and the multiplication is 15, and the addition part was completely ignored, and we used the go-to statement to have a control over the execution of this program. So you saw how the use of the go-to statement could have an effect on the flow of the execution of the program. Now, using go-to is not a good idea, because using go-to many times in your program will lead to many errors in the program, and it will not be easy for you to debug the programs where you use many go-to statements. So for that reason, after quite some time, after doing some research, programmers and researchers, they came into a conclusion that we need to go towards a go-to-less programming approach. So they would try as much as possible to not have go-to statements in their programs, and that led into what we call the control structures nowadays in our programs. So today we have three types of control structures for most of our programs, and basically all of our programs in today's world. In many programming language, we use these three control structures to write all of our programs, and these three control structures are enough to write any type of program. So what is these three control structures? The first one is the sequence structure. Sequence structure. Basically, this is very obvious that this structure, the flow of execution will go sequentially for this structure. The second one is the conditional structure. Conditional structure. And this one we have actually seen a little bit about the conditional structures using if statements. So we have seen that if we have an if statement, so the if statement can have a control whether a certain block of code is executed or not executed, and how the flow can go in one way or another way. So this is the conditional structures. And then we have the iteration structures. Iteration structures. So we haven't seen iteration structures. Iteration structures are basically loops, while loops, for loop, while loop, do while loop, and we will be discussing about the iteration structures in the coming episodes. The other name for this conditional structure is also selection structure. So if you see selection somewhere, so basically this is the same as conditional structure, selection structure or conditional structures, and iteration structures that we said that we have this for, while, and do while loops. And basically using these three types of structures, we can write any type of program. Now, the combination of all of these structures are called structural programming. Structured programming. Structured programming. Programming. Okay. So this is what basically structured programming is, the use of control structures to have control over the execution of a program. So that's it for this episode, and going on in the coming episodes, we are going to cover all of these control structures one by one and in more details.